So, should there be an early election? Is that the only way out of the current economic mess? Joining us on the program tonight, we have well-known economist and author Gulcharan Das. We have Meera Sanyal, the head of the RBS Foundation here in India. Senior journalist Neerja Chaudhary is with us. The BJP's national spokesperson and Rajya Sabha MP, Mr. Prakash Javadekar, joins us. And the Congress's national spokesperson, Sanjay Jha, joins us tonight from Mumbai. Mr. Javadekar, firstly, let me ask you, does the party endorse Mr. Yashwant Sinha's views that it is time in the best interest of the country, as he put it, for the Prime Minister to resign and call for early elections? Does the party believe, as the party, that this is really the only way out now?
After all, let us understand, the situation is so worrisome. And all sections of society are really worrying, and this government has shown no leadership, no vision, no direction, and it lacks complete political will to change the economic course, even the discourse. And that is why many people feel what Yashwant Sinha ji echoed was the feeling of many sections who are actively involved into the fields of economy, that what is the way out? When you see complete bankruptcy of idea on one hand, complete absence of leadership on one hand, complete absence of political will on one hand, let nation decide and debate the economic situation and come up with the new government. So that he was echoing. This is not a party resolution, which he was telling to your interviewer. So we must understand in the proper context what Yashwant Sinha ji was saying.
Sanjay Jha, isn't there a lot of truth in that today? You have a lot of people who are watching the economy, watching the political scenario, who really truly believe today that maybe it's time for a new government to take over and to end this uncertainty for investors once and for all. Because despite the efforts the government claims it's making, clearly there is no confidence in the stock markets, for instance.
And Nidhi, with due respects, but Mr. Sinha was once a finance minister in the NDA government. And he ought to have known better that at a time when India needs to stabilize its economy and make it stronger, talking of elections, and actually that's a fact, whether it's for the stock markets domestically or foreign investors or even domestic corporates, it actually creates greater level of political uncertainty. At no point of time in India can anybody predict the outcome of an election. So, to create uncertainty in an environment is actually, in my opinion, a bizarre suggestion. It's like saying if you got a headache, cut the head off. But that's a typical BJP, strategy, make any statement on an economy and try and make a political statement out of it. Let me tell you, Mr. Sinha has no solutions. I've been hearing all the BJP leaders and spokespeople very, very carefully. Nobody has a solution to the dollar rupee, and I'll tell you why. Because at the moment of time, a lot of the dollar rupee may be dependent, yes, on how we can attract FDI, for which the perception is critical, as is the actual genuine reforms that we do domestically to attract foreign capital. FI money is anyway short term. But the truth is, a lot of the depreciation of the rupee against the dollar has happened on account of an international environment, because the US economy seems to be feeling more bullish about itself. So when people actually try and make an economic subject into a political weapon to embarrass or make a government look weak, then I can only feel sorry for the BJP. To talk of elections at a time when we are in charge, and let me tell you very categorically, we are in government, we are going to be there till 2014, we are in command. Mr. Chidambaram, Mr. Raghuram Rajan, I think there are excellent people at the helm of affairs, not to forget the Prime Minister himself. And at this point of time, whether it's monetary or fiscal stimulus that we need to do, how we need to contain inflation, they're all interrelated. So, there is a challenge. We are not going to run away from that.
It is precisely the point that you make, that
you're there. We have managed to do remarkably well.
It's precisely you saying that you're there till 2014 that's scaring some people. Mr. Javadekar wants to respond to that. Mr. Javadekar, is it only criticism and no solutions from the opposition?
No. We have actually laid by example that when there was sanction post Pokhran, Atalji came up with the idea of resurgent bond, and to a great success. NRI has contributed to that and created that required cushion. And that was an example before you in every matter. See, why there is CA, why rupee is falling? Because current account deficit is in such a worse state.
Very high.
And what is bad, you are just increasing the gold duty on gold, thereby facilitating hawala and smuggling. there is not only one way.
Nidhi,
You
I want
have
to
to deal
respond
with each aspect, and you can't do at the last minute. You have to start doing it every fortnight. Then you would have been controlling the coal import. Instead, you would be exporting the coal. If you would not have factored things well in advance, you would have stopped the edible oil import, and you were self-sufficient by 2003. Again, you have gone back to 60% in edible oil import. On oil front also, you can do many things, but government is clueless and can't enthuse and see. Lal Bahadur Shastri gave a message in Jai Jawan Jai Kisan and don't eat rice for one day. That was not the real economic
in a
measurement,
sense, what you're
but
saying
it created that sense of feeling.
Yes, you're saying
All
that there are a lot of
things have to be
knee-jerk.
done, but this government is not doing anything.
Yes, I want to get Mr. Gurcharan Das in here because Mr. Das, we've seen that, for example, there are reports that the government cleared some 28 projects over the weekend, this weekend, amounting to more than 1 lakh crores after sitting on many of these projects for years and years. You can see the finance minister trying to make pronouncements on boosting investor sentiment, confidence, and yet, of course, we've seen the fall of the rupee today. We've seen the way the stock markets have reacted. Clearly, that confidence in this government to be able to deliver is not there. Are these knee-jerk reactions?
I completely agree with that. I think that Chidambaram has been a one-man army trying to do some reform, and the Prime Minister has tried, but the reality is what you see in the marketplace, and that shows that there is very little confidence in this government. Things were on the right track when the investors saw what Mr. Chidambaram had been doing. They saw the fact that they saw that monetary easing was around the corner, and so there was building up. But then this government took up an unnecessary fight, an unnecessary battle to defend the rupee. And just see what's happened. It's not helped the rupee, and the markets tanked, the confidence has tanked. And so I personally think that a new election would be a mood changer. Now, this doesn't guarantee you may be going from the frying pan to the fire, because I don't think the other side has solutions either. But what we are lacking today, the economy is much stronger than the confidence in the economy. And what we are lacking today is precisely that trust. There's no trust in this government. And so the earlier it goes, the better. And that's what's nice about democracy. Democracy gives us a chance to hope that we may get a government of reformers. And at least whoever comes in, Raghuram Rajan will be there. And he is a reformer. And he's capable. His financial sector reform committee, if he implements those reforms, it turns the Reserve Bank away from its obsession with inflation, but to growth. I think things can change. I think things can change. But I'm sorry to say, this government has woken up too late, and I just think it's time for a change.
Well, Meera Sanyal, an election would be a game changer, says Mr. Gurcharan Das. And, common sense has it that for an investor looking at India today, they would look at the political uncertainty, they would look at the fact that there are so many roadblocks to investment, that the overall sentiment in the economy here is so negative. And the fact that, why would you put your money in India now when you know the government's going to change a few months down the road? Given the state that the economy is in right now, wouldn't an early election just put everyone's misery, end everyone's misery?
So Nidhi, I don't agree that an election would change everything. And the reason is that the behavior of all the political parties seems to be very much the same. Take, for example, the food security bill. Now, any rational person would say that that is a very bad idea for India. On a multiplicity of counts, first and foremost, it will certainly balloon your fiscal deficit. But more important, essentially what the government is doing is it will be nationalizing agriculture. And there's a wonderful saying, जब सरकार बने व्यापारी तब लोग बने भिखारी. So the whole world can see this, India can see this, and I think we are unilaterally focusing on foreign investment. Let's talk about Indian investment. What will drive the Indian economy is Indian businessmen, Indian entrepreneurs. Whether they're small entrepreneurs, you could be a Mochi or you could be a Tata, Birla, Ambani. You want these people to invest in India, which is what will drive India forward. India has become a very, very hard place to do business, not least because of the way our political system is working.
Yes.
And while we can blame the Congress, I have to say that the opposition has also taken its own role in paralyzing Parliament.